What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel and welcome to some more Week 5 preview and predictions. We got 3 of them coming out for you today. They're all top 25 matchups, and I wanted to start with this one because I think this is a very interesting game taking place here in South Bend, Indiana. I know technically in Notre Dame, Indiana, but regardless, South Bend is what we are going to say here. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish are going to be hosting the Louisville Cardinals in a revenge game for Notre Dame, but it's also another chance for this Louisville team to make a statement to the college football world. We'll tell you everything you need to know about the Cardinals and Irish here in just a little bit, but before we do, thank you so much for supporting this channel and supporting me however you may be doing so. However you found this video, thank you for taking time out of your day to watch it. If you are as big a college football nerd as I am, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell, especially if you watch a lot of my videos and haven't done so already. Guys, we are so close to 2,500 subscribers. I would really appreciate if you would help me get there, but do anything else you can to help support the channel, liking, commenting, sharing, again, watching the videos. It all helps support what I do here on YouTube, but if you want to support me outside of YouTube, go give me a follow on Twitter at TailgateNate29. Look at some of the articles I write. Listen to some of the games that I call. Heck, tune in to any of the other podcasts that I may be a part of. However you support me, I really appreciate all of your support as I am on a journey to be a sports media professional. But with all of that said and out of the way, let's dive on in. Let's talk about this one between the Cardinals and the Irish, again from South Bend. How do we do preview predictions here on the channel? Well, we are first going to go through keys to the game when each team possesses the football. So we will first look at this Louisville offense against this Notre Dame defense, and then we'll do a little 180. We'll look at the Notre Dame offense versus the Louisville defense. I'll give you a final breakdown, how I think this game is going to play out, as well as a final score prediction from this one in Notre Dame Stadium. Let's go ahead, dive on into this one, a top 16 battle in South Bend, and we are going to start with what happens when Louisville has the football. Now, through the first 2 games, this Louisville offense was absolutely fantastic, and you go back and look, scored 62 points, and I believe had over, 571 yards of total offense there in the first game against Austin Peay. In the game against Jacksonville State, scored 49 points, had over 600 yards of total offense. Last week against Georgia Tech, by far the best team that they have played up to this point in the season. Well, their offense really wasn't clicking that well, at least in terms of what they had done in the previous 2 games, right? 326 yards. They were only 2 for 9 on third down, only 57 rushing yards, only 2.1 yards per carry, but they didn't turn the football over. They did a nice job of capitalizing on drives, and they did a nice job there to be able to win that game when the defense stepped up, made some big plays for them down the stretch. We'll talk about this Cardinal defense later, but for this Cardinal offense, you definitely want to have a much better performance than you did against Georgia Tech last week. And this is no slight to the Yellow Jacket defense at all, because we've seen how good of defense Georgia Tech can play this season. This Notre Dame defense is better, guys. They're allowing just over 250 yards per game. They're one of the few teams in the country that allows under 10 points per game. They don't allow many explosive plays. On top of that, they force turnovers. They have 6 forced through 4 games this season. They have 9 sacks. That's more than 2 sacks per game this season. Their third down percentage is absolutely fantastic. And because of all of that, just based on what we saw last week against Georgia Tech and based on how good this Notre Dame defense is, I do not think that the Cards offense will seem as explosive as it did in the early 2 weeks. A lot of people may be saying, the Cardinal offense will get back to sorts here and get back to doing what they do best here in this game, because that game against Georgia Tech, well, the offense wasn't working all that well. Louisville may very well have more yardage at the end of the day in this game against Notre Dame than they did against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, because I would agree with a lot of people out there that may be saying that this Louisville offense just didn't feel as crisp, as clean, as put together as it did those first 2 weeks. That Tyler Shuck still, though, had himself a great game, 269 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was, again, rushing the football. That was a big problem for Louisville in that game. They just couldn't get anything on the ground against Georgia Tech. Guys, that's going to be a very similar story when you go up and play this Notre Dame Fighting Irish team. Again, they allow 121 rush yards per game. The pass defense as well is spectacular, but the Irish, again, this might very well be the best offense that they have faced so far this season. Now, again, Notre Dame is a really, really good team here defensively, and they're led by some of the best defensive players in their position across the entire country. You got guys like Watts and Morrison in that backfield, Kaiser, Bowen, Sneed, the Villiamu, Asa, Osbury. That linebacker room is absolutely ridiculous. They got some monsters on the defensive front there as well. But I think they're going to need to force some turnovers and fluster the Cardinals here in this game. The Cardinals, still a team that has not turned the football over this season. And again, even though the offense did not get that many points in the game, or I should say that many yards in the game against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, they were still able to score over 30 points. And with the way we've seen this Notre Dame offense play this year, that may very well be enough to win them the game. So even though the yardage wasn't there for the Louisville Cardinals, the scoring still was to a certain point, right? That's got to be something that Notre Dame really needs to key in on. They need turnovers, they need pressure, they need sacks, they need to fluster this Louisville offense and get them reeling and going backwards because, hey, as long as this Louisville offense is moving forward, it's going to end up doing some really, really good things. But again, guys, Louisville is looking to make a statement. Remember what happened in this game last season? This was the statement game that kind of put Louisville on the map. They were kind of already on the map, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, this is a pretty good team, but Notre Dame is going to end up beating the Louisville Cardinals. Well, Louisville got an absolutely massive win at home. They're going to be looking for the same sort of statement to be made this year when they go on the road and play the Notre Dame Fighting Irish again, even after that Georgia Tech game. And even though they're in the top 15, I don't feel like a lot of Louisville faithful out there feel like this team is getting enough national attention, feel like they're getting the respect that they deserve in terms of their odds and ability to go push for a spot in the college football playoff. Because, guys, when this team is clicking, this team is absolutely legit. But there is one problem with this Louisville team as now we flip on over to the defensive end. Look, the rush defense for Louisville has been absolutely spectacular this season. It was even spectacular in the game against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. It didn't even allow 100 yards rushing to a team that has a lot of guys that can run the football really well. Jamal Haynes, Haynes King, all of those guys, very sound weapons on the ground for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. But speaking of Haynes King, again, not only a guy that can get outside of the pocket and run, is also the quarterback there for Georgia Tech. He was able to have himself quite a day throwing the football, 312 yards. Now, didn't have a touchdown, didn't have any picks there in that game. But still, guys, over 300 yards passing. The numbers really aren't going to tell you everything they need to know because, again, their first two opponents they played have not fared the best so far this season. So that number a little bit skewed. The one weakness within this Louisville team, at least overall weakness, the one thing that you could point to and say this is what might hold the Louisville Cardinals back, is that secondary, is that pass defense, and it has to get better. Well, you could say the same thing about Notre Dame's passing offense, as it has also got to get better. Riley Leonard has done some tremendous things on the ground here for this team, and I mean, you can't talk about this Notre Dame ground game without talking about Jeremiah Love and Price. I mean, Love and Price have been absolutely spectacular this season. Leonard as well. Again, you heard me mention his name a little bit ago. All of those guys there, Love, Leonard, and Price, are averaging over 7 yards per carry, or I should say at least 7 yards per carry, because Riley Leonard 7 yards per carry on the dot. But what Riley Leonard has to do a better job at is creating things down the field and getting this pass game working. It's the thing that you've hammered home with Notre Dame these past couple of weeks, right? The downfield pass and just the pass in general has to be more efficient, has to work better. Leonard is sporting a 63% completion percentage right now, which is not bad, but through 4 games, he's only got 587 yards. He's only got 5.7 yards per throw, 1 touchdown and 2 picks. They did end up putting in Steve Angeli into a game. He played a lot in the game against Purdue, went 6 for 9, 100 yards. Both of his touchdowns came there. Again, that was an absolute blowout. And there's no question that Riley Leonard is still the starting quarterback here because of what he can do on the ground. That's why you have Riley Leonard back there. He adds that sort of ability, and I do believe it will give this Louisville rush defense some trouble. But the rush defense, as it has for the past couple of seasons with Louisville this season and last year under Jeff Brom, it's going to hold up. If Leonard and this Notre Dame offense want to make this Louisville defense pay and want to get a leg up, this is the week to where that pass game has to be found. It is Louisville's biggest weakness defensively because they're great on third downs. They can get a pass rush, and they forced their fair share of turnovers so far this season. And again, as I've mentioned many times, the rush defense is fantastic. The secondary is the weak point here. But it is up to Riley Leonard to improve his play. It is up to him to get better. It is up to him to really utilize a lot of the weapons that he has back there. And I'm not saying don't utilize Jeremiah Love and don't utilize a guy like Jadarian Price and don't utilize the legs if you are Riley Leonard. Of course, still do all of those things. I just think it's going to be a lot trickier to make that your game plan when that's the strength of this Louisville defense. Is their physicality and strength on the line of scrimmage. You need to be able to throw the football here. Riley Leonard has the ability to do it. We've seen flashes this year. We saw flashes at Duke. He's got to get it on a consistent basis here in this game. But speaking about that physicality up front, you have to give Riley Leonard time to do that. Yes, Riley Leonard has to improve his play, in general, right? And he's got to be able to find his wide receivers downfield. But this offensive line man has got to give him more time. And look, Leonard has only been sacked 4 times this season, and Jelly has the other 3 sacks. So there's your 7 sacks allowed. But this is the Notre Dame offense, guys, that lost a ton of, or I should say an offensive line that lost a ton. Well, yes, an offense as a whole, but offensive line especially that lost a ton of NFL level talent. And this is a Louisville pass rush that is still really freaking good, guys. They're averaging 3 sacks per game. Again, Louisville's strength defensively is on the line of scrimmage. They are going to try to be more physical than you, and that is the name of their game. The Cardinals can let the pass rush work here, and if this offensive line is not going to hold up and is not going to let Riley Leonard have time to throw the football, it's definitely going to be a situation in which Notre Dame could struggle offensively here. So the offensive line's got to give good protection, and Leonard has got to be able to work. But I think especially the battle on third downs will be vital because Notre Dame has not been the best on third down so far this season. Again, Louisville, much like the Notre Dame defense, is really freaking good on third down. So that's something that I'm keen to watch as well. But the biggest key, again, offensively for Notre Dame, I can't hammer it home enough. Let Riley Leonard in this pass game go to work, and it has to get better in this game if Notre Dame is going to want to come out of this one with a win. Notre Dame is the slight favorite in this one here as well. You can find this one on Peacock. I know, let's throw up the conversation about streaming services and this, that, and the other. I'm just telling you guys where you can watch this one. And if you have Peacock, if your buddy has Peacock, I recommend tuning into this one because I do think this is going to end up being a pretty darn fun battle. But I'm going to end up going with the home side here in this one because I think Leonard in that passing offense, well, I don't think it is going to be spectacular. I just don't see that happening here in this game. It will be a little bit more of the offensive game plan for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in this one because of the weakness in the Louisville secondary, and I trust Notre Dame's defense a little bit more than Louisville's defense to step up, make the big play, especially here at home in Notre Dame Stadium. This one is going to be really close, guys, but I am going to go with the home side here. Maybe we could see a little bit more scoring than what I'm predicting here, but I do think it's going to be kind of a rock fight early. The scoring will happen later. I got Notre Dame winning this one 26-21. Again, I do think it's going to end up being a rock fight early. The battle in the trenches is going to be seen early and often because, again, both of these teams are really good line of scrimmage play on both sides while they have some weaknesses in one area or the other. For the most part, they are pretty darn good. But I think Riley Leonard attacking this secondary is going to be the vital piece here. I like Jeremiah Love more than any one of the pieces Louisville has in that backfield. And I don't think Tyler Shuck is going to do enough here to help them win this game. And I also am throwing out a prediction that Louisville will turn the football over for the first time this season in this game. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.